Sam Beckbessinger is 'n skrywer van kinderverhale, thrillers en finansies. In haar onlangste boek, Manage Your Money Like a Grownup, spit sy haar raad toe op tieners. Sy bly tans in Londen en sluit by ons aan oor Skype. Sam, welcome to Winslyn. I find it fascinating. You are a writer for kids' TV shows and horror stories, but you also write about finances. What kind of sparked this interest?
So I think it's funny because usually when finance people talk about finances, they talk about financial products and investments and debt and all of that kind of thing. But really for me, what money is for is to allow you to do the things that you want to do with your life, right? Which means that there can be no one-size-fits-all plan. And for me, the thing that I've always wanted to do was write stories, which is very inconvenient because it's not a very, very well-paid career. So for me, in my 20s, I went through the stage where I was really lost and confused, and I was in a lot of debt, and I wasn't doing the kind of work I really wanted to be doing, which was, writing ridiculous stories for teens and for adults. And I realized that the thing that I needed to do to make that possible was to actually figure out how money works. That was the piece that was missing for me in my life. So on my own journey, money and figuring out the basic rules of money is what's allowed me to do all the other things. And that's why I'm now super passionate about talking about money all the time, so that I can help everyone, do more of the things that they care about.
Wow. So, you're so passionate about money, you decided to write two books. One obviously focusing on adults, and your 2020 book is now focusing on teens. Why that shift, and why was that important to you?
So, I got the best thing about writing the book for adults was that I got so many really beautiful emails and letters of thanks from readers, which makes sense, right? Because I don't think we teach people about money at all. I certainly didn't learn about it at school. But the most common thing that people said in their letters was, I just wish that I'd known this when I was younger. And I took that as a challenge. So that was why I wanted to write the book for teens. And I think the thing is that it's the same skills that you use to manage, your 20 Rand worth of tuck shop money are the same financial habits, and they develop the same financial beliefs that you're going to need when you're managing your first paycheck in your 20s. And it's your 20s and your 30s are really your most important years when it comes to saving and investing. So if you can give someone a bit of a head start so that those early years really, really count when you're first practicing the same skills you're going to need over your lifetime, that felt really impactful. Okay. Of course, the challenge, though, was I needed to find a way to make it fun and funny, which meant a lot of jokes, really, a lot of illustrations, and trying to figure out how to just make it really relevant to young people's lives, and simple and practical.
Yes, Sam, that was my next question, is you obviously have to try and make finances as interesting as possible. So if I'm a parent at home and I say, well, I'd obviously like my teen to know more about finances, what can they expect from the book?
Well, my first tip is make lots of jokes. So, I think the book, it goes through really, really practical questions like, if you're a teen living in South Africa, what are some safe ways you can actually make money? It doesn't help learning stuff about budgeting or saving if you don't have any money to do that with. So it also talks about practical questions like how to have a conversation with your parents about, who's going to pay for tertiary education, if that's something you want, whether getting pocket money is feasible in your family, and alternatives if it's not. And it talks all about the very practical things like, how to save, how to budget, and all the way to the kind of more, the bigger principles, like this is why investing is interesting, but then very practically, this is how you as a teenager in South Africa who might only have 20 Rand can start actually practicing the skills that you will need to learn about investing. So I think that was always the trick, was to make it super relevant, really specific to the South African context, and make it add lots of things that would be useful from day one, from the day that the teen reads the book. It's not just this thing that like, oh, this might be something I need to know one day, because let's be honest, teens get bored easily. It's much more impactful if there are things that they can start applying to their lives from the day they read the book.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think the money principles that we learned when we were kids, okay, you're younger than me, but still apply to young people today?
I think it's really important to think carefully and have a very clear understanding about the ways that the world has changed for young people today. Firstly, they're just under a lot more pressure financially than a lot of people in previous generations. They're entering a job market where there just aren't enough jobs going around. A lot of them are going to need to learn how to make money outside of jobs. They're entering a situation as well where a lot of them, from their very first paycheck, they're often supporting not only parents, but also younger siblings, cousins. They have a lot of financial pressure on them.
Yeah.
And at the same time, there are all of these new products and financial apps and tools that give them access to, all these exciting new ways to sort of make money quickly, which is obviously always a bit dangerous. And so I think they've got a lot of pressure. They have a lot of options, a lot of choices. But I think the thing that hasn't changed are the very basic principles of how money works, the very basics of what an asset is, the basics of compound interest and why it's so powerful, how debt works. And I think the challenge for me was to try to have a lot of empathy for the ways in which the world is different for them, that they're going into, but also that the basics, the really important stuff, that hasn't changed and it doesn't change.
Sam, fascinating book, fascinating topic, and thanks for writing it.